Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, my email is still in the description below. My email is still tmosso@thewatchbox.com for all of your purchase and pricing questions. Reach out to me for pricing. I'm still tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we discuss an ultralight sports watch launched in 2018 from FP Journe. This is the Chronograph Monopoussoir Rattrapante, a timepiece, 44 millimeters in diameter in grade 5 titanium. It incorporates a relatively slender profile of only 12.1 millimeters thick, and then from lug to lug across the case, 51.8 millimeters across the wrist. Now, the dial of this watch is aluminum. The movement is aluminum. The case, the bracelet, and the clasp are titanium. So despite the size, this watch wears very light. You can also see that the watch is effectively lugless, as the bracelet joins with the end of the case, and there's no additional lug that projects beyond that. So on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, not only can I wear this watch effortlessly, but it does sit incredibly low for an aggressive sports watch. And across the wrist, you can see that the bracelet pulls straight down around the curves of the edge of my wrist. So this watch does fit on a wrist as small as 16 centimeters circumference. You can wear it on a larger wrist, or if your wrist is just borderline like mine, you're going to find that ergonomically and aesthetically, it's really agreeable. Even from over the top, which always exaggerates the width of a watch, it looks like a good fit. And once more, the cuff shot showing you how easily it'll slide underneath the cuff. This is one of those watches that feels toy-like. So if you like the feel of a super light watch, something that is compact on a silicone strap, a second skin you can forget you're wearing, this is for you. If you want the massive platinum or gold versions, we've got those too. The bracelet is of the new school of FP Journe design, meaning there are no rubber bumpers on it. It is an anthracite darkened titanium. It has plenty of gaps on the underside that are calculated to avoid pinching skin, pulling hair, or trapping wrist heat. Removable links are fixed in place using screws, that on both sides. You can see that ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps are used inside the buckle to maintain its tight tolerances over time, as the titanium cannot wear down the ceramic balls, and we have that on both sides. And then there is a micro adjust built in here that allows you to take in or take out a total of 5 millimeters of incremental adjustable length. Rolling to the flank of the case, you can see that it's relatively muted like the rest of the watch. This is all a media blast, a very fine sort of satin without a directional grain, so it's a matte finish. We have a little bit of a polished flourish on the side. We have polished double dimple knurled FP Journe crown, and then rounded rectangular chronograph pushers. And while it might appear that this is some kind of a conventional chronograph, a reality is that this is a split second. So it's considered to be a mono pusher in that you cannot stop it and restart it. So you can see right here, I can always split the seconds, and then the seconds hand will always fly right back up. But if, for example, I were to stop the chronograph altogether, now it resets. So it is a mono pusher in that sense. It has the single trigger to start, stop, and reset. But if you need to time two events that are occurring concurrently, like cars around a racetrack, you can gauge whether the gap is waxing or waning using that seconds hand. The dial is a flat matte gray, and it is made of aluminum, so ultralight. You can also see that there are sapphire windows into the mechanism that sit underneath the running seconds and the chronograph minutes, that they have a combination of transparent, opaque white, and then red printed features with railroad tracks outboard of each for reading individual seconds or minutes. We have for individual seconds and fractions of seconds, a precise track around the outside of the dial. And then you'll appreciate that we have a variation in high polish on the signature Journe biomorphic tapered hands. You'll also note as the watch rolls over the minute, take a look at the minutes counter. It is an instantaneous jump. We have a matte finished media blasted frame, and you could see that it features the signature dial side bolts that have been an element of Journe watch design since his original wristwatch prototype back in 1991. We have little S reminding you that this is part of line Sport, and then a very large double-digit date that does have a quick set, And finally, the blocks of loom, and they are blocks of loom. See, the numerals are appliqué, made of loom. They're solid three-dimensional blocks. You can really see the height that they have over the dial. Now let's take a look in the dark. And you can see it glows brightly. It's always fun to play with a double-digit date. One more thing I want to show you is that when the chronograph engages, press and hold, and there's almost no stagger, no jump. Press and hold. It's almost as seamless as a vertical clutch because it uses a mechanism that FP Journe first deployed on the MC045 chronograph caliber that he created in the 90s for CRT TI. And so that Tortue monopusher used an oscillating pinion clutch. If you look very carefully under my finger, you can see the oscillating pinion moving into contact and out of contact with the chronograph center wheel. And the point of an oscillating pinion is it's beautiful and traditional like a lateral clutch, so it's an upscale traditional refinement, but it also has far less play than a conventional lateral clutch, so it doesn't jump like a lateral clutch. It's almost a perfectly smooth engagement like a vertical clutch. There is a column wheel. In fact, you'll note there are two column wheels, one for the split, one for the conventional chronograph functions, and then the movement itself is enormous, measuring 33.6 millimeters in diameter. This is caliber 1518. It is made entirely of aluminum, bridges and plates, pivots on 29 joules at 3 hertz, adjusted in 5 positions. It features a free-sprung balance of large diameter and enormous mass, the free-sprung architecture making it easier to set precisely and also more shock tolerant. There are individual finger bridges for the terminal end of the drivetrain leading down to the balance. We have circular Côte de Genève on the bridges. We have satin with mirrored bevels on the edge of the steel chronograph components. We also have an ungulage on the edge of the aluminum. You can see that there are certain elements such as screws and the bridge for the chronograph center wheel that have been black polished to a mirrored shine. The quality of the tiny springs is outstanding as each structure has been micro-finished with satin and beveling. And there are also polished locating pegs. So for example, this bridge and this bridge and this bridge. See the little polished peg heads that are used to locate the bridges on the base plate? Those have been polished on their tops. There's engine turning on the base plate and satination on all of the wheels, which is quite attractive. It has a manual wind 80-hour power reserve, and it represents an enormous undertaking, as you can see, 15, 18, 15 being the size in French lean, so you know exactly how large it is. Over 33 millimeters, it is enormous, almost pocket watch sized. You can see the column wheel in action. Its action is incredibly precise. There are 3 versions of this watch: titanium, platinum, and rose gold. We have them all, but if you want the sportiest version, this is it. Reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Well, hello there. Just 2 more features I wanted to call out. The first of which is 30 meters water resistant, so this is not an aquatic sports watch, but for all other occasions, yes, it is rough and tumble and quite durable. And we also have a ceramic bezel insert. This was the first ceramic component that Journe used on a men's watch, so it's extremely scratch tolerant. There's a tachymeter scale, base 1000, which can be used to gauge the speed of an object, such as a race car across a kilometer. Use the chronograph, you read the scale. When you get to such a point as the car has crossed the kilometer, you stop it, and now you could see the car was going 550 kilometers per hour. That's how you read it. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.